What is good, people? Esteban Jimenez Osorio, also known as Esteban, here with the Hustle Holdings page. Hustle Holdings, for you guys that don't know, is basically an investment company that I'm trying to start. And what I want to do is be able to share investment information online and in person for people, bring returns to investors either through advice or managing people's money and giving. That's the mission of the company. Simple as that. We talk about investments, manage investments. I have an operating company. I do courier driving, skip the dishes, Uber, DoorDash, et cetera, et cetera. I'm trying to build an investment company on top of that. It's very improbable this could work. But in the off chance that this does work, I think it'd be legendary, and I just want to document this. So, yeah. So with that being said, I also want to be useful and put out some useful stuff. So hopefully you can find some of this information that I'm going to be sharing on here as useful. So with that being said, I'm going to jump straight into it. As I said, the show is going to follow a format, which is basically we're going to have the news of the week. We're going to have updates of the things that I learned. And then I'm going to show you guys an update on my paper trading portfolio to see how it's doing. And so let's jump right into it. So today's Monday, June 30th, 2025. I'm recording this at 11:30 p.m. So, and I'm here in Mountain Standard Time in Calgary, Alberta. And before I get into anything, I just want to shout out. First of all, if you haven't heard my song Dreamer, shout out to Dreamer. You see this in the back here. Listen to Dreamer. It's a great song. It's on streaming services. I'll put a link in the bio. Shout out to Dreamer. Shout out to Get Moss. Donato Beats on the production. Great song. I love that song. Shout out to Dreamer. Hustle hats. I want to make these available. We haven't set up the online shop yet, but if you want a hustle hat, let me know. Hit me up through Instagram or personally, or just hit me up in the comments and I'll see if I can get you a hustle hat. And shout out to HipHop Xertified. We're posting heat on the Instagram stories again, songs that I'm listening to. So if you know me from the hip hop world, you know me from the music world, still check out HipHop Xertified. We're posting heat on the Instagram stories. Shout out to HipHop Xertified. Got my Coke here. Shout out to Coke. Amazing. Love Coke. And I did recently pick up a book. Shout out to Ray Dalio. How Countries Go Broke, the Big Cycle. This is actually a gift for a friend of mine. He doesn't know yet. Maybe if he sees this, he'll know. But if you haven't checked out my Ray Dalio summary of the debt cycles, the short-term debt cycles, you can check those out. It touches briefly on the long-term cycle as well. There's a PDF on my Instagram, the Hustle Holdings Instagram. You can check out the link tree, and there will be a PDF that will summarize not only the debt cycles book, the previous one, the principles for dealing with big debt cycles, but also it shows how to position a portfolio according to ChatGPT. This is with the help of AI. So it was written by AI, and I used it, and I made a podcast on this called Economic Cycles. You can check it out. And it goes through how I avoided some big losses during the Trump pump. So yeah. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. Trump announcement on Friday. On Friday, June 27, 2025, Donald Trump, and I'm reading this with the help of AI as well. Shout out to Gemini. If you haven't tried Gemini, check out Gemini. Google's AI. You can talk to it. You can ask it questions. It's fantastic. I love it. I have the app downloaded. Shout out to Gemini. So this is with the help of Gemini, putting out some of this information. On Friday, June 27, 2025, Donald Trump made a significant announcement regarding trade talks with Canada. He stated that the United States was terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. This decision was announced in response to Canada's plans to continue its digital services tax, which Trump described as a direct and blatant attack on our country. and American technology companies. He indicated that the U.S. would announce new tariffs on Canada within 7 days. This move came amidst ongoing efforts by Canada and the U.S. to resolve various trade issues, including tariffs that Trump had previously imposed on Canadian goods. And so that was announced on Friday, and it didn't seem good for Canada. Carney wants to put in this tax against these tech companies, and Trump didn't seem to like it. And then on Friday, June 27, 2025, Donald Trump made statements regarding trade with China, focusing on an agreement related to rare earth minerals. While the details were initially scarce, White House officials clarified that what was signed was not a comprehensive tariff agreement, but rather an additional understanding for a framework to implement a previous agreement made in Geneva earlier this year. This new agreement specifically focused on rare earth minerals, which are crucial Chinese exports used in various high-tech goods. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick confirmed that China would deliver rare earths to us, and in turn, the U.S. would lift a series of restrictive measures that it had imposed on China. This suggests a reciprocal action where China facilitates rare earth exports and the U.S. removes some of its existing restrictions. And so that was announced on Friday. And the reaction of the markets actually closed. The Dow, S&P, and the NASDAQ closed at near all-time highs on Friday. That was pretty much the news on Friday. And then you had on Friday, Nike stock surged 15%. Making it a top performer on the S&P 500. This significant jump was primarily due to the company reporting better than expected fiscal fourth quarter earnings. While Nike's revenues still declined by 12% year over year to $11.1 billion, this was a smaller drop than anticipated by both the company's guidance and analysts' expectations. Their earnings per share also came in at slightly higher than street estimates. Management's optimistic outlook and progress in their turnaround strategy under CEO Elliott Hill also contributed to investor confidence. Several brokerages, including Goldman Sachs, Piper Sandler, Citigroup, Barclays, and Baird, raised their target prices for Nike, and HSBC upgraded their stock to a buy rating. So I saw this actually yesterday. I saw that Nike's stock shot up, and basically, to make sense of all this stuff, you have these tariffs coming out of China and the U.S. You have tariffs going against Canada and the U.S. and those economic implications that are going to have. And if these tariffs stay in place, some people are projecting there could be a recession coming this year. Could be higher inflation, stagflation, things like that. So it's definitely something to watch out for. And obviously Nike was affected by these tariffs. That's why they also announced that they were going to do a $1 billion. They were going to do a strategic move to not be dependent on Chinese exports and move manufacturing somewhere else. And obviously Nike would have been one of the big targets during these or from these tariffs because a lot of their products come from China. And if their prices increase, people might not be buying as many Nikes. I heard Peter Schiff talk about this. Shout out to Peter Schiff. And so Nike making that strategic move on Friday, announcing that was a big deal, and their stock shot up 15%. I thought Nike was pretty cheap looking back. Months. The stock was down. It's still down from its all-time high during the pandemic. And I think it still's got a ways to go. So Nike is a stock I would look out for. I love Nike, and I'm going to talk about Nike later in the paper portfolio that we have put together. And then today, U.S.-Canada trade talks. Today, Monday, June 30th, 2025, Canada made a significant announcement that it would rescind its digital services tax. The decision came just hours before the tax was set to officially take effect, and it was a direct response to the threats from U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday to terminate all trade talks and impose new tariffs on Canadian goods if the tax proceeded. Canadian Finance Minister François Philippe Champagne stated that Rescinding the DST would allow the negotiations of a new economic and security relationship with the United States to make vital progress and reinforce our work to create and build prosperity for all Canadians. Prime Minister Mark Carney also confirmed that he and President Trump agreed to recommence negotiations on a trade and security deal with a new deadline of July 21st. I think that deadline was already set in place. Essentially, Canada backed down on the digital services tax to avoid a more damaging trade dispute with its largest trading partner, the United States. And those who don't know, Canada is very dependent on exports. A third of our GDP comes from exports. One of the biggest customers that Canada has is the United States. So these tariffs are definitely going to have an effect. America is going through a situation where they're trying to restore manufacturing, make America great again. All these sort of things to try and produce things, especially the important stuff like things that are critical to national security. They say it's Main Street's term, not Wall Street's term, all this sort of stuff. So we'll see if America is able to do it. These sort of things happen as countries get fatter and fatter. They let other countries do their manufacturing because it's cheaper. All right. And then they've kind of financialized their own economy. And so, but now you have this situation where countries are dumping bonds. They no longer want the dollar. The dollar's inflating. You have the debt problem. It's a lot of things that are happening in the U.S. And the U.S. is going through a problem, which is basically what this Ray Dalio book, and what Ray Dalio has been talking about for a while. So make sure that, you stay prepared. And that's why I'm bullish on gold, bullish on silver, bullish on Bitcoin. Straight up. And then you had Elon versus the bill, which is, again, talking on this federal debt problem, America's situation, tariffs, all this sort of stuff is interconnected. Today, June 30, 2025, Elon Musk continued to express strong criticisms of President Donald Trump. Big, beautiful bill. Here are some of the key points from his recent tweets. Utterly insane and destructive. He called the bill utterly insane and destructive, claiming it would harm future business prospects, cause millions of job losses, and lead to future tax hikes. He specifically mentioned its negative impact on the solar, wind, battery, geothermal, and nuclear industries. Porky Pig Party, Markey. Musk stated that the bill, which he says increases the debt ceiling by its record $5 trillion, proves we live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party. He called for a new political party that actually cares about the people. Vows to oppose lawmakers. He has voted to fund primary campaigns against Republican lawmakers who vote for the bill, stating that every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame, and they will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. Threat of a new party. He threatened to form a new American party if this insane spending bill passes, suggesting it's needed as an alternative to the Democrat-Republican Uniparty. His criticism of the bill has been ongoing and has even led to a public feud with President Trump, which we touched on in the previous podcast, the Trump feud between Elon and Trump, and how it caused the shares of Tesla to shoot down 15% and then shoot back up 15%. And I think up to date, Tesla shares are still up 12% from that situation. I think they were down 2% over the overnight trading, and maybe they'll dip more even tomorrow if Trump and Elon go back and forth. And then this all is related to the debt problem, the inflating of the currency, the big overspending, overpromising entitlements that a lot of the fiat world, all these sort of things that people have been talking about for years. That's why there's Bitcoin. Bitcoin's taken off. All these Bitcoin treasury companies, gold's taken off, silver's shooting up. You have AI that's trying to make things more and more efficient. Obviously, try and keep up with inflation. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just a lot of things that are happening. And yeah, all this stuff is related. You know what I mean? So if you can see how these things are all kind of related and put the pieces together, you can figure out a way to kind of benefit from this, which is where we stand. right? So as an investment company, I look for ways to benefit from this and get returns for investors. And so that's why I'm bullish on gold, bullish on Bitcoin, bullish on silver, and commodities in general, bullish on business, AI, things like that.